Imagine a city where graffiti wasn't illegal. A city where everybody drew whatever they liked. Where every street was awash with a million colors and little phrases. Where standing at a bus stop was never boring. A city that felt like a party where everyone was invited, not just the estate agents and barons of big business. Banksy. In Washington, D.C., and most cities across the world, graffiti is illegal. There is a prejudice against graffiti in the art of urban wall painting. It is vandalism and destruction of city landscapes. Due to some violent messages of graffiti, it is labeled as universally bad. However, much of graffiti is not hate-filled, nor is it done with the intention of creating harm. Often, graffiti expresses an artist's message. It can be as simple as immortalizing a name in a city's history, bring to light an issue, or simply create something beautiful.
It goes back to the root of the message, and by explaining that these graffiti pieces, these expressions on the wall, are actually basic exclamations of identity. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be from a 16-year-old, kid, or from a 45-year-old adult thing who are doing these things, and the age range goes from from lower than that to higher than that. They are basic exclamations of self-identity, and it's a self-identity which this person wants the public to see them as.
Artists like Banksy, who have an almost legendary status for his graffiti, often focus on one idea. Graffiti often has a simple message. Issues like poverty, war, or social injustices are all common themes. However, sometimes graffiti has little more purpose than to create a beautiful city. Some graffiti can be a bad thing. Gangs like MS-13, the Aryan Brotherhood, and the Bloods Crips use graffiti with different intent. Very real-time stuff will show you, like the bus stop stuff, which they get cleaned pretty frequently. That stuff is a real thermometer for who's in the neighborhood and what they're trying to do, because they know that that's a space where people who are on their level are going to interact. And there's certain iconography that's going to tell you that every time. It means certain gangs use certain signs. If you can see like a pair of hands written like that, it's MS-13. If you see the pitchfork, you're thinking folks. Artists like Corey Stowers, owner of Art Under Pressure, now work with an organization called Murals DC that gives amateur and veteran artists alike the opportunity to practice graffiti legally.
Well, Murals DC is a program that was started by Jim Graham in 2007 as basically a graffiti abatement program, identifying walls that had been, routinely tagged, and then basically installing murals on them.
Despite harsh legal consequences, graffiti is created illegally. Legal alternatives like Murals DC or galleries willing to show graffiti-inspired work do not seem to cut down on illegally created graffiti.
America has a fascination with the outlaw. We have ever since just after the Civil War. Coincidentally, that's when name writing started. And I don't call it graffiti, I call it public name writing. So when public name writing kind of emerges in hand with the rise of like the outlaw, the American outlaw myth, you have that perpetual kind of interest in that lifestyle.
Graffiti takes many different forms and holds many different messages. It can take the form of a violent message of gangs, the urban beautification that Murals DC works to create, or the illegal graffiti of the unknown artists that live in every city. No matter what the message or style, graffiti is a form of communication. Perhaps someday, the social prejudice against graffiti will be lifted, and Banksy's dream of a world dressed like a party may become a reality.